What's up, everyone? Welcome into another episode of Hit 'em High with Eagle great Seth Joyner. With Everett Terry, I'm Scott Seidenberg, coming to you from Parx Casino, presented by King's Market Cabinets, reminding you, the viewer, to share this episode because sharing is caring. For each share, we will donate $1 to a different organization, charity each month. This month, it's the Help Us Adopt organization because it is National Adoption Month. And comment on this episode with your questions, your criticisms, because we will read them live on the air. And there is a lot to talk about today, boys, because the Eagles, another disappointing offensive performance in another loss to a good team in the Seattle Seahawks, and now they find themselves behind the 8 ball once again, Seth.
I'm exhausted. I'm going to let y'all have it.
Listen, the Eagles are exactly who a lot of people thought that they were. They came into the season, they don't have the offensive weapons that they were supposed to start out with. That's fine, be that as it may. But you see other teams deal with injuries throughout the entire season and still find ways to win. This game was 1,000, 1 million, 1 trillion% on one person. It wasn't on Doug. It wasn't on the defense, who actually played well. It was on Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz played by far the worst game he's ever played as a pro. He looked befuddled out there. He was missing easy passes, the turnovers, and this has been a problem for him with the turnovers, with the fumbles, with holding on to the ball. In the NFL, where you already have a small window of margin for error, you can't afford to give away 4 possessions. 4 as the quarterback, and then expect to win a game. And the defense did everything they could to keep you in the game. Everything. What else did you want them to do? Go out and score touchdowns for you too? At this point, the questions have to become, maybe it's Wentz. And I got a solution for that. But before I get to that, I'm going to let Seth go ahead. Because I know Seth, look, Seth, we don't have to argue about Aguilar this week. He didn't even play. We don't have to argue about Aguilar. And it wouldn't matter because Wentz would overthrow by 10 yards anyway.
Hey, listen, you bring a guy up, Greg Ward, off of the practice squad.
He better never be on practice squad again.
He has a good first half, and then all of a sudden he disappears out of the offense.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I will never, ever absolve Doug from blame in a game like the last 2 weeks because he continues to throw the ball when it's unnecessary. You know, the entire game until that long run in the fourth quarter, they were always one possession away from either tying the game or taking the lead in the game. But Doug still insisted on throwing the ball a call 50 times, opposed to a call 48 times last week against the Patriots, to a paltry 21 call run plays. And listen, they rushed for 106 yards, I believe, 4.6 yards a carry. So don't tell me they can't run the football. They're just not committed to running the football. And I didn't even call for them to run the football yesterday. I just say you have to be balanced because against a defense like the Seattle Seahawks, you have to present them with balance. Because when you put them in a feeding frenzy by throwing the ball as much as they threw it, then now the pass rush against a decimated offensive line, you're in a position where your quarterback can't be himself. You're right. He was frazzled, he was befuddled, he was confused, he was conflicted, any other thing that you want to call it. Because first of all, Doug put him in that position. And then for the first time yesterday, I saw him lose total confidence in everything and everyone around him, and more importantly, in himself. I mean, he airmailed balls that were slam dunks. There were times where he was smart enough to take off and run, other times where he was confused. And I'm quite frankly sick and tired of hearing Doug Peterson, shoulder the blame. I mean, he said yesterday in his press conference that Carson Wentz is not the reason why we lost this football game. Well, when you hold the team that's averaging just under 28 points a game to basically 174 yards rushing, and a lot of that came on that long run, and 174 net yards passing, I would say that the defense pretty much have done their job.
Second week in a row, the defense has done their job.
So then, I mean, the 4th week in a row, hold the last 4 games, they've been holding their opponents to around 17 points a game. In the modern day NFL, that's more than enough to win. The offense has got to figure out a way. I don't care if Carson's out there playing with Larry Curly and Mo. It doesn't matter. He's got to figure out a way, and Doug's got to figure out a way to get enough points on the board to win the game. And you presented 2 turnovers and plus territory, and you still couldn't do anything with it. So at the end of the day, it's a combination. It's a combination of Doug's, inefficiencies At play calling, it's a combination of Carson Wentz's inability, to execute whatever game plan they have in place, and it's the players' inability, to execute as well around him, and the offensive line. I mean, the offensive line was just horrific yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
And listen, I don't care what anybody says. Big V has turned into, the current day Tobin Turnstile. You remember Matt Tobin?
Yeah.
That's now the big V of this offensive line. Okay? Wow. They cannot win. They cannot and they will not win football games with him on the field as a starting tackle. It's just not gonna happen. He has no fight, he has no urgency, he has no desire, and quite frankly, half the time he looks like he don't know what the heck he's doing. And you can't win with a weak link like that because everybody's watching the game the same way that we are. If I'm a defensive coordinator, I'm looking and I'm saying, that's the weak link. That's the guy that we have to attack. And you know what they're gonna do? They're gonna scheme to attack him because he has no fight in him at all. At all. I mean, listen, Shaquem Griffin is a tremendous story, okay? But at 226 pounds and with a physical deficiency, I mean, he whooped Big V like a redhead stepchild yesterday. Day, play after play after play, okay? And if there's not something inside of you that rises up, that man that's inside you that says no more ass whoopings, okay? If that doesn't live in you, you can't win with a guy like that. You understand what I'm saying? At some point in time, that has to well up inside of him, and I just don't see it.
But you hit the nail on the head with Carson Wentz, confidence. And it's clear over the past several weeks, he has looked shook. And he's not going out there and pulling a Sam Darnold and saying that he's seeing ghosts, but he's sure as hell playing like it.
Sam didn't see no ghosts yesterday.
No, Sam's been good ever since they dumbed down the playbook. But Carson is clearly not getting the job done.
Wait a minute. Maybe that's what Doug needs to do. Maybe Doug needs to dumb down the playbook.
Think about this, and I was going to get to that because if you look at the Jets, and I don't mean to bring this comparison, but Sam Darnold went into Adam Gase's office and said, I'm not comfortable with what we're doing offensively. And Adam Gase said his response was, what took you so long? Which pisses Jets fans off because it's like, hey, you're the coach, why didn't you come forward? But he wanted his quarterback to come to him and say it. Anyway, so for the past 2 weeks or 3 weeks, what did they do? They reduced the playbook. They put in an offensive system that Sam was comfortable with. The Jets have scored 34 points in 3 consecutive games. Wow. I understand they played 2 bad defenses in the Giants and the Redskins. Okay.
Play who you play.
You play who you play. Yesterday against the Raiders, they took advantage of things. Sam Darnold looked great. Maybe that's what the Eagles need to do here. They need to find what Wentz is comfortable with in this playbook, not expand everything, shorten it down. I say dumb it down, but for lack of a better term. But hone in on the type of plays that Carson is comfortable with, and then go with that reduced playbook and maximize his abilities as opposed to spreading him out too thin, because clearly something is wrong that needs to be addressed.
If you can't hit a guy in the flat, there's no more dumbing down a playbook that you can do. There's no excuse you can give me.
Well, he's holding on to the ball. He's double pumping. He's hesitant. I get it.
5-yard outs. 5-yard outs. He can't hit Seth right here. He would miss him by 3 yards over his head. Okay? There's no more dumbing down you can do. He needs to go out and execute. Now, I don't know what the hell they're practicing all week, but ever since he got injured in 2017 when he was on that historic MVP pace and everybody anointed him the second coming walking on water, and then Foles goes and wins the Super Bowl, he's not been the same guy. Now, 2018, they credited to the fact he was coming back from injury. This year, there is zero excuse. Foles is gone. He got the team. They went out and got him another weapon. Granted, they've been injured. But even still, when he played in 2017 and guys were going in and out, injuries, and Howie went and made moves, and we can charge some of this to Howie too, he still was finding ways to make guys around him better. He was still executing on a level. Nelson Aguilar had his best year as a pro that year. These guys have not looked the same since. Now, whether they want to play for Foles or whatever the case may be, that's irrelevant. The point is they're all professionals and they're here to play. The solution is simple. I got the solution, and here it is. Trade Carson Wentz.
Stop.
And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why. You trade Carson Wentz. You're not going to win with him or Peterson. They're not going to win together. You've already seen that they can't play together in the same style and be successful. Every coach has a run. Andy Reid had a run. When he got to the place where he and Donovan couldn't win, he left. McNabb went first, then he went. What I'm telling you is Carson Wentz and Doug Peterson, for whatever the reason, can't get on the same page. You can sit here and dumb it down all you want. And I got the trader, the suitor for them. Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
It's not
It's
gonna
a
happen.
Florida weather.
It's not gonna
Bruce
happen.
Arians loves quarterbacks. He's a quarterback
I
whisperer.
understand.
They've got a high pick in the draft, and they've got assets that they can trade back to the Eagles. You trade him to a team where he has no pressure. He gets a fresh start. He doesn't have to hear about Foles ever again. You give him weapons like a Mike Evans, a Cameron Brate, a Chris Godwin who's turned into something out of this world all of a sudden, and watch how much better he looks with a guy who knows how to enhance on his skill set. Because trust me, he hates Jameis Winston. Bruce Arians hates him. He would take Winston in a heartbeat. You pull the trigger on that trade, the Eagles get assets back, and now they replenish. You get all this bad money off the books, you rebuild, and then in a year or two, now you can compete again. Give Nate Sudfeld the chance that you sat here and kept him for. You said you believe in him. Keep him, let him run the team for a year, win or lose, no matter what he does. You get a quarterback to come in and learn. You just sat here and said last week that the Cardinals went, they had Josh Rosen, and then they're going to get Kyler Murray. Okay, so the Eagles could trade Carson Wentz, even though they just gave him that money. Tampa Bay can absorb the contract, and now you go ahead and you get the guy that you think is going to be next. There's a bunch of quarterbacks coming out in this year's draft that will be there where Tampa Bay is picking. You start over.
The problem with that is, first of all, you're assuming that Tampa Bay has the assets that it's going to take. That's the first thing.
Picks matter. Howie loves picks.
Yeah, but you're assuming that he ain't gonna be cheap. No matter how bad he's playing, as a second overall, he's not gonna be cheap. That's the first thing.
No, you don't expect that.
The second thing is, okay, you're hitching Doug and Carson at the hip. If you make the move with Carson, then you must make the move with Doug. You mean to tell me you're gonna allow a Super Bowl winning coach 2 years removed from winning the Super Bowl, you're going to kick him out the back door? That ain't happening, man.
I'm not going to sit here and say trade Carson's, but I do agree that he should have been benched. Now hear me out here. Sometimes we need to look at the quarterback position differently, and I liken it to Major League Baseball. Why can't teams and fans and coaches and everybody look at a starting quarterback like a pitcher in Major League Baseball? If he doesn't have it that day, it's okay. No, just take him out the game. It's okay to remove a quarterback from the game, put in the backup without causing a controversy and saying that backup is now the new starter.
There will always be a controversy.
Because the backup quarterback's the most popular guy in town. I get that, but look at what Mike Tomlin did yesterday. He removed Mason Rudolph from the game. Devlin Hodges comes in, leads them to a victory, and after the game, he did not say anything about who's starting next week. He just said they needed a change in that game. Yesterday was the perfect example. They needed to let Carson come out of the game, stand on the sidelines, watch what's going on from afar, and maybe it would help him moving forward.
Listen, when he went in to get his hand x-rayed, I was hoping that the offense took the ball before he came back out, okay? You have to understand the dynamics of what's at work here. They are never going to do that as long as Carson Wentz is on this team. The only thing that's going to extract him out of the game
is an injury.
You got to understand all the thing that goes into this, okay? Carson was not happy with what Nick Foles did here, okay? I don't care what anybody says. He can put on the front and talk about how he was happy and he was a great teammate and all that kind of stuff, okay? But that guy had to stand on the sideline and watch the backup quarterback lead his team to victory in the most important game in all of the NFL, okay? So now you got this continued back and forth about who's the most important guy, who we should keep and who we should let go, you know? And the Eagles made their choice. And then they signed Carson Wentz to a long-term deal. They are never, and Doug is never, ever going to put him in a situation where there's a quarterback controversy ever again. It's just not. It's not going to happen.
Fragile.
It's not going to happen.
Do we agree?
Because they can't allow for that dynamic to play itself out again.
Yeah,
now,
the locker room.
if you put Josh McCown in and he brings the team back, okay, and then you say, okay, he just came in relief, but Carson is our starter. If we go into next week's game in Miami and Carson's struggling again,
I get it. People are going to call for it. I understand.
Okay, and you already got the controversy about, factions on the team.
Right.
You know, you got Wentz guys and guys that aren't so much Wentz. You know, you got all of these rumblings about stuff that's going on. All you do is perpetuate that even more and make it even bigger if you create that. And I'm telling you right now, they're never ever going to create that again unless it gets to a point where organizationally they make the decision it's time to move on.
But E.T., you mentioned the injury, though, right? And how much do we have to now consider that as a part of his learning curve? Granted, he had the success right away, but the fact that he missed all that time, he's not at the point in his career where he should be. Because that time has to be factored in. I have this argument with Jets fans when they talk about Sam Darnold. It's not week 12 for Sam Darnold. It's week 7 or 8 for Sam
That's
Darnold
a fact.
because he missed time. Carson Wentz is not at this point in his career where he should be because he missed all that time. That practice time is invaluable.
So you know what? So you know what the only counter argument to that is? I would concede that if it wasn't for the fact that he eclipsed so fast. See, if he didn't have the year in 2017 and he just was progressing, I'd say okay, he's injured, he's still learning. But you can't come out and be an MVP
there's
candidate
a
in
sophomore
2017.
slump sometimes.
Right? He didn't have that. He came
I
out with
understand.
all world.
I get it.
And you can't go from all world to all crap.
But this is
in
basically
a 2-year
his
span.
third season in the league.
But he went from all world to all crap.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can.
Who's done it?
His offensive coordinator's gone. His quarterback coach is gone. This is completely
Coaches
different now.
change all the time.
But this is, think about it though.
No,
he's practically a third-year player.
Listen, the dynamic works in this fashion, okay? I've been around the game for a long time, okay? I know a football player. I can look at him walk and tell you whether he's a player or not, okay? Carson's issue is like every other player, and it's even much more so for quarterbacks than any other position because of the amount of information, the amount of data that they need to retain. Okay, if a player plays for 3 years in a row, first year, second year, third year, barring injury, okay, that's 3 years of experience. By the time he gets to year 3, he is what he's going to be. If he hasn't ascended to your expectations, with all of that experience, it's highly likely that he's not going to. Okay, if that development is arrested in any way, now you have to take into account that that's a problem. So he played all of his rookie year. He played for 12 games his second year. He got injured. He missed the rest of the season. He came back. He missed the 4 games of his third year. So really, if you really stop and think about it, Carson is really in the midst of his third year.
Exactly.
That's the only pass that I'm going to give him. I agree. The expectation has been great because you know what? He took off like a meteor. So now all of a sudden, everybody expects for him to continue on that ascent. But the problem with quarterbacks is they've got to see it all. Every single time. They got to see every blitz. They got to see every blitz coverage. They got to see every coverage. They got to see every front. They got to see all the idiosyncrasies and all the disguises that happen on the defense. See, when Tom Brady gets to the line of scrimmage, there's nothing you haven't shown that you can show him that he hasn't seen. He said, listen, why would I retire now? I got all the answers to the test. You can't, Peyton Manning, the same way. You can't disguise.
Going down as well.
Listen, he doesn't. We ain't even going there. Tom Brady's having a tough year this year because he doesn't have the talent at wide receiver, and he doesn't have the offensive line. But I digress. Okay. The issue is, these guys, you can't show guys like Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. You know, you can't show them anything that they haven't seen. Carson is still seeing those things. He's still developing the ability to look at a safety when he's out of position and know that he's in a disguise. He's in that developmental stage. And you know what? We expect a lot because Nick Foles produced a lot. And because Nick Foles produced a lot, we think that, oh, Carson's potential is up here. Nick Foles was like right here, but yeah, he got it done with less talent. But look at Carson's talent and his ability, his potential up here. So we expect for him to take the next step. And Doug wrote a check. His behind can't cash right now. He said this is the new norm, and he put a whole different level of expectation and pressure on Carson Wentz.
So we're gonna just absolve the fact that Carson Wentz has looked absolutely terrible.
No,
because what
I never
hear
said that.
is,
I never said that.
He's still in his third year. He's not all the way there. But what I'm telling you is, let's project it out. They're probably going to be my Dolphins, Redskins, Giants. We'll give them those games. Okay. Do you think with what you've seen from this team, they're beating Dallas? Last 2 weeks?
Got a month. That's a month away.
Let me tell you something.
Who's coming back in the next month that's going to change that projection?
It's a month away.
What they need to do is they need to get healthier on the offensive line. That's a probable reality. Okay. They might not get a whole lot healthier at the wide receiver position. Okay. But I think that, and Greg Ward, I think that they found somebody in the middle. I think that he has to start in the slot and move Nelson when he's 100% back outside. Okay, so offensively they can get back to where they need need to be. Dallas, at this point in time, Jerry Jones is sliding the noose around Dallas's neck as we speak.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
Oh, yeah, that press conference said
Listen,
everything last
I don't
night.
always agree with much that Stephen A. says, but he always says that just wait, Dallas will find a way to self-destruct. And they are going through that process right now. Right now. Right now. You're watching it. You're watching them find a way to self-destruct, okay? And they will. The more and more information that you get on this offense, the better and better you're going to be able to defend it, okay? The defense, hey, listen, they got a good defense. But you saw some guys yesterday. You seen Julian Edelman yesterday make some plays. You saw Myers yesterday make some plays in the worst of conditions, okay? So if those second-tier guys can make some plays and make some things happen,
Eagles
hey,
third-tier guys can make plays.
I'm not worried about it. And you want to know something? We got them at home this time in the dead of winter with the elements. And again, I'll say, just like I said when they went down there, if you can't get up for that game, you're in the wrong. You're playing football for the wrong football team in the wrong city. Because you want to know something? I'm pretty old right now in football terms. But you put a damn uniform on me, I'll tear Dallas a new ass right now.
That's what they want. Half these fans would take you a linebacker today.
But isn't that what I said last week? Looking ahead to this game to the Seahawks, that if they lost, you'd probably think that the Patriots are going to beat the Cowboys, which they did. The season is still in front of the Eagles. As bad as it looks right now, as bad as Carson Wentz has played, as bad as the offense has looked, the season is still in front of them. It's going to come down to that December 22nd game against the Dallas Cowboys for the division. That's it. They handle their business against the weak opponents that they're going to play. Giants twice. You mentioned the Dolphins and the Redskins. They handle their business against those teams. It comes down to the Cowboy game. All of this other stuff means nothing. You can throw it out the window. It's gone. As long as they beat the Cowboys, they are winning this division and going to the playoffs. That's all that matters.
So let me ask you this.
I'll pose a question to you guys. Do you think it's good for them? You know,
I'm glad you said it.
Because I broached this question. I talked about it yesterday in postgame. Is it a good thing for the Eagles to really make the playoffs? Because are they beating?
No.
Are they beating the Packers again? Are they beating the 49ers?
I understand they're going to be dogs. They're going to be dogs no matter who they play against. But if you're in the tournament, you have a chance. If you are in the tournament, and as a division winner, guess what? You're playing that game at home. So whether it's the Packers coming in,
home and away doesn't scare anybody.
It doesn't matter. Elements can come into play. A lot of things come into play.
We had that false sense of security last year. Okay, the team was mediocre. All of a sudden, they caught fire at the end. They won the games that they needed to win. They limped into the playoffs. You know, they won a playoff game, and then they got bounced. They got bounced. You know, because of a drop pass. Okay, so you go into the offseason. See, my caution with this. And listen, I want the Eagles to be successful. People hear me be critical. It is my job to be an analyst, to analyze what I see, to use my 13 years of playing experience and all the information that I gather from the great defensive minds and offensive minds that I played under. It's my job to analyze what I see, okay? So I want the Eagles to do well. I want them to be in the playoffs, but I want them to be in the playoffs to the tune of where they can compete and they can win a Super Bowl, okay? A lot of times when teams make the playoffs, what winds up happening is organizations, you know, they exhale, okay? And they pat each other on the back. Oh, you know, we made the playoffs this year. You know what? 11 other teams did also, okay? Only one team's going to win the Super Bowl, okay? Did you legitimately win it or did you limp in, okay? Because at the end of the day, this team is fundamentally fractured in a lot of different ways. The wide receivers need restructuring, need a whole new wide receiver core. We need much more depth on the offensive line, okay? We need help in the secondary. We need defensive end help. I don't care what anybody says. We need defensive end help,
and you gotta get younger.
And we need linebackers. We need some playmaking linebackers, okay? If you make the playoffs, then there's this sense that, you know what, we're good enough as we are. We'll tweak it here, tweak it there. And then you know what's going to happen? They're going to have another mediocre season like they did last year and this year, and they're going to limp into the playoffs again next year, and it's going to happen again because the team last year, nor the team this year, is positioned and good enough to compete against San Francisco and Seattle and the New Orleans Saints at top strength, or the Dallas Cowboys,
They
for
don't
that
even wanna see
matter,
the Vikings again.
if their head is right and they're playing at top level, they're not talented enough right now.
So real quick, I'm gonna piggyback this, and I had this conversation with a buddy of mine recently. This reminds me of the Philadelphia 76ers when they were in that purgatory space with Andre Iguodala as their main guy. They were good enough to be an 8 seed and get in the playoffs, but everybody knew they weren't beating anybody to get to the finals. If you can't win a championship, there's no point of playing. Okay, the Eagles limping into the playoffs to be, even if they win the division and get a home game, you know they're not going to beat the Minnesota, they're not going to beat the Green Bay again, they're not going to beat the San Francisco, they're not going to beat any of those teams. And if, in some miraculous way, all these teams go down in some sort of fiery crash and never play football again, they're still not beating anybody in the AFC. Not Baltimore, not Kansas City, not New England. So what is the point? What you have to do is sometimes be bad to get good. And if they stay at that level of mediocrity where they're just good enough to get in, but not bad enough to where they make improvements, overhauling like Seth just said, then what they're going to be is mediocre. They'll always fill the stadium in. I'm sorry, I said the vet, my bad. Always fill the stadium in, always have people coming out, but then you'll hear people on sports talk beating their ears up all week about how bad they are and what they need to do, arguing with Seth on Twitter about all these changes got to be made because they're not going to be good enough. And that's why I said, trade Wentz. Blow it up. It's not going to work. You've seen what you've seen. He's not going to show you anything in these next 5 weeks that you don't already know. You get high value for him by offloading him and rebuild it the right way. They are too old. There are too many positions where they're plus 30. They're one of the oldest teams in football. You blow it up, you start over, and you do it in a way that gives Sudfeld a year to come in and see what he's got, if he's got something where he doesn't, and you get younger. You take draft picks and assets and you get better that way. Fletcher Cox ain't going to be great forever. You're going to waste the prime of his career with a quarterback that can't make 5-yard outs. Did you see how pissed he was yesterday? Because I did. He was pissed off at the defense. Not at the defense, but at the offense from how many times they kept giving him possessions. And he's like, dude, give us a touchdown. Give us a score.
I'll say this. Two things. I'll come back to that Fletcher thing because Doug made a comment yesterday, we win as a team, we lose as a team. The one thing I disagree with, if they can get to the Super Bowl, I ain't got no problem with that, okay? That's 1, 2, that's 3 more checks.
We agreed with that last week.
Absolutely.
You agreed with that last week.
Absolutely. That's 3 more checks. So that's me being selfish.
Of course.
But me looking out for the long-term prognostication of this football team, I want them to get better so that year after year they can be in the hunt.
Is one playoff game really going to change their outlook of this team? If they play one playoff game and they lose, they're not going to all of a sudden say, we don't need to fix the offensive line.
You got to realize, you know, how these organizational, non-football minds really operate. And listen, I've seen it before. I've seen it with the Arizona Cardinals. The year they went to the Super Bowl, they come back the next year, organizationally, everybody walking around like, yeah, you know, we've arrived. What the hell have they done since then? Because non-football organizational personnel, they don't really understand the importance, you know, of personnel on the team. They're looking at, oh, we got to get to the playoffs. If we get to the playoffs, then we have a chance. Well, hell, in training camp, everybody's got a chance. Right. All 32 teams have got a chance. Mm-hmm. But let's be realistic. When you talk about the NFL and teams with a realistic chance to win the Super Bowl, you could probably pull 2 teams out of each division at the beginning of the year that legitimately have a chance. The rest of them, they just playing. And that's a fact. Now, let's go back to Fletcher, okay? You can see the expression on the deep. Doug can talk about it, and people can talk about it. I heard John Ritchie talking about it, you know, on the air driving in. You know, he was like, you know, you can see it manifesting. There's no outward finger pointing. You'll never see that because organizationally, these guys know that the organization won't stand for it, okay? But when guys aren't giving their top effort, they're pointing the finger, okay? When I see the defense get a turnover, okay, and they're sitting on the sideline, and they're giving the ball to the offense in plus territory, and the offense turns the ball over on 4 downs, and you see the defensive guys rolling their eyes, and you know, it's already happening. I know I've been there before. I've been on a team like that before, where the defense is just playing lights out, and the
offense can't give you nothing.
The offense can't do anything. You know, I mean, you try to be the good soldier, you try to be the good teammate, but it's inherent. It's a human nature thing. You know, that we get to a point where it's like, okay, there's 3 different phases. We holding up our end, the special teams holding up our end. Where the hell y'all at? We can't win without you. We can lose with you, but we can't win without you.
Facts.
You know, so sooner or later you can try to hold it together as much as you can. Jason Peters can talk about all. You know, not as long as I'm in the locker room. Listen, there's talk going on behind your back that you don't even know about. okay?
And you on your way out. You on your last leg, literally.
Hey, if the Eagles don't make the playoffs, maybe we get them on Hard Knocks next year. It's Hit 'em High with Eagle great Seth Joyner with Everett Terry. I'm Scott Seidenberg. We are live here, not just on Facebook, My New Philly, but also on YouTube and Twitch. Share the episode any way you can, because sharing is caring. For every share, we donate $1 to the Help Us Adopt organization. It is National Adoption Month. Seth's going to head to the whiteboard and teach us something, but let me remind you that we are brought to you by King's Mark Cabinets, and for all of your home renovation or construction needs, you hit up King's Mark Cabinets, available on all their social media channels, because these guys not only do the job done perfectly, but at a reasonable price for you as well. So hit up King's Mark Cabinets. They are our proud presenting sponsors of Hit 'em High with Eagle great Seth Joyner. Now let's head to the whiteboard, where Seth's going to learn us something.
So the focus of my whiteboard today is going to be Zach Ertz. Now, I've got him in a couple of different positions. I got him detached here, you know, in the slot, and here I got him attached like a tight end to the formation. One of the biggest issues and problems that I see with Zach Ertz is the depth of his routes. I think it's safe to say all the routes that he runs are pretty much going to be in a 5 to 10 yard in or out range. Now, as a defender, these guys know that, okay? So they're sitting on these routes, waiting on him to break in or out. And a lot of times what they're doing is they'll double him late. He'll have a corner here. That corner will backpedal and sit on the outside route, and they'll drive that safety down late to take Zach away. You're seeing this happen a lot. Even against cover two, when they get cover two situations, okay, and you got the corner here, this guy's responsible for half the field, okay, and you got a wide receiver out here. The thing that stresses cover two more than anything is being able to get a guy vertical and getting this guy vertical. Now you put this guy who's in halves coverage in a bind. He's either got to choose this one or he's got to choose that one. Either one he chooses, he's wrong. But if you notice, you see Dallas Goedert running this route right here all the time. The only guy that runs this route is Dallas Goedert. You don't see Zach Ertz running this route. So defenders, both players and coordinators, know that Zach is only going to give you short to intermediate routes, shake routes, stuff like that. What I don't understand is why Doug Peterson isn't using him to stretch the field, okay? Even if you want to drop down, and bracket him this way with a corner here, okay? Run him on the seam, run him by some people. He's got more than enough speed. And you key break and you put him in a different situation where this guy's thinking different and this guy's thinking different. It's no different whether you run these types of routes for him out of single high or double high. Even if you got a single high safety up here, okay? And you got a defender on him. Why are we running all of these routes out here where the key is, if I can take my slot receiver and run him at the free safety and occupy the free safety, now I can get Zach Ertz on the corner route. Who's there to help? The receiver out here, I run him on a stutter and make the corner play up. This route is open all day long. But we continue to run these short to intermediate routes with Zach Ertz, and we wonder why he's struggling so much to be able to get open. And teams are going to double him. They're going to double him. I just don't understand why we can't come up with ways and adjustments, you know, to help our most productive player, our most productive wide receiver / tight end get open, you know. And you want to know something? At the end of the day, if they're going to double him, then Dallas Goedert over here has got to step up. He's got to be the one running these seam routes, and he's got to be the one running these corner routes. And you got to line him up out here and run him on post. That's the only way you're going to be able to stretch the field. But as long as the Eagles' offense is content with throwing short to intermediate routes, they're going to continue to struggle. So, back to you guys.
So when you look around And Seth brings up valid points about using Ertz to his strength. When you look around the NFL and you see what other teams are doing, and you look at the use of the tight end and the fact that the Eagles limit the route tree for Zach Ertz, it hurts and cripples their ability to be productive when he's your best-handed wide receiver / tight end, and he has the ability to line up outside. He can do a whole bunch of different things. How much of that falls to Mike Groh? I mean, we've talked about it ad nauseum that he might be a part of the problem too. I would dump him as well because I think that he's not done anything to make this offense better. But that's just me. When you look around the rest of the league at what some of the other teams are doing, I mean, you saw the Cowboys struggle yesterday. They lost the game against the Patriots, and Jerry Jones went nuts and started calling, I mean, literally saying all but, hey, Jason Garrett, I'm going to fire you at the end of the year. I mean, but you heard it. You know, you look at what else you saw. You saw the 49ers look dominant. Clearly, to me, and maybe I'm wrong, look like the best team in the NFL from what I've seen. I mean, they look like a team. When we saw how the Eagles barely edged out Green Bay and how Green Bay struggled a couple weeks ago, but then you see them get dominated, not maybe sort of lose, kind of close game, dominated by a team, and this is where drafting matters. John Lynch went all defense for most of his first-round picks, for his first few picks, and every single one of them is hit. That's evaluating talent. We agree that Howie Roseman struggles with evaluating talent and drafting guys that are going to be playmakers on this team. Where at some point does the culpability fall not just to Doug, not just to Carson, but also to Howie Roseman, the fact that his inability to draft, even with Joe Douglas, hasn't been a home run?
Well, this year is really going to be critical because Joe's not there now.
Yes. Right.
Okay. So now, I mean, I would take you back to, you know, when Chip Kelly was fired, and Jeffrey Lurie said everyone's now accountable. Everyone. He said, from Howie, who's in charge, right on down, everyone's accountable. Okay. So they won a Super Bowl. So the question is that accountability faded? Because right now, you know, Howie has got a lot to answer for. I mean, we signed back some guys that we probably should have let walk last year. We made some draft choices, you know, that weren't the best decision. You know, the jury's still out on some of them, but some of them is pretty clear that they're just not going to realize what they thought that they could be. So it becomes an accountability thing. So now I'm pretty sure, you know, we just got to sit back and wait and see what he does. If he has another lackluster offseason and this team is not built the correct way, next year, man, we could be talking about both Howie and Doug, you know, getting up out of here.
Isn't that
amazing? There's just no doubt about it. Hey, listen, one thing Philly does, Philly loves you, man. I mean, if you're a coach, you're a player here, and you do well and you give your all, Philly will love you. And Philly will forever love Doug Peterson. But these fans and this media, they're not going to stand for another year like this. You know, by this time next year, if we're still looking like this as a team, as an organization, you know, no one's going to remember the Super Bowl 52. Everybody's just going to be remembering right now how much of a laughingstock this football team is around the league after all that we've given up. We've got the franchise quarterback because that's the guy that they felt was going to be the guy. You know, we've got, you know, the Super Bowl win and all the moves that we made to get there. You know, we got our coach declaring that this is the new normal, okay? The fans aren't going to put up with that for so long. You know, they'll get amnesia really quick. Another lackluster season, they're going to be calling for Howie and Doug's head on a platter. And they might be calling for Carson to ride on out on that same stagecoach.
Well, Stephen Madonna comments in on the video. Sounds like you guys want to start the process for the Eagles. Does this fan? Can this fan base?
No.
Can this fan base even handle that? You want to?
Everyone wants to start the.
You think this fan base can handle that?
I don't believe in that.
This fan base can't handle that.
I think the fan base would handle it if there was a sense of direction. Because right now, mediocrity, maybe limping into the playoffs and getting trounced in the first or second round isn't a direction. That's not a Super Bowl direction. There's no direction at this point. It's, hey, we're going to bring back all these old guys who are past their prime, most of them who can't play. Sproles gave you, what, a game and a half? You signed him up for a year. That's a roster spot. Greg Ward could have had his spot on the roster for all of that, and we could have had some production out of him. I mean, we're going to talk about it. Let's talk about it. Why is Mac Hollins still here? Why was Aguilar not traded in the offseason when everybody talked about him? He was on his last year of his deal. You get some value for him, offload him. Now you can bring in some guys that might play, might not play.
Made the playoffs last year. That's what I'm saying.
And there it is. The mediocrity keeps people thinking.
That's the dangerous thing, in my opinion, about making the playoffs when you have so many needs.
That's my point.
It creates this sense that what we have is already sufficient.
You almost want them to miss it so they can see how bad they really are and then know they need to fix it.
Let's go around the NFL. You mentioned the 49ers, ET, and their performance on Sunday night against the Green Bay Packers. I don't think there's any denying that they are the top team in the NFC right now. But I'm going to look at another team who I actually thought was the top team in the NFC, and that's the New Orleans Saints. And I understand that they allowed Carolina to come back. They escaped with a victory late. But the way that this Saints team can play offensively, they can beat any team, no matter where they're playing. Obviously, at home they're better.
Right.
But on the road, that's fine. Michael Thomas is a legitimate MVP candidate. It's very hard to give a wide receiver the MVP award because
he's not an MVP candidate.
No, but he's a candidate.
Listen,
he's in the mix.
He's having an outstanding year, but Michael Thomas will not be an MVP candidate when it's all said and done. When the voting's done,
no, because you can't give it to a wide receiver.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. That's why. But
the only reason he's in the mix
point.
is because of the fact that he's played. If he played with Breeze all year, then you give him that. But he also played with Teddy Bridgewater, who most people were calling a train wreck. As soon as they said Breeze went down, they said these Saints have no hope. Their season's over. You heard it on every media outlet. Then all of a sudden, Teddy Bridgewater started winning games. Why? Because he was smart enough to realize, let me throw it to the best player on planet Earth at the wide receiver position.
Can I say this though? I don't understand. I mean, what else do the Saints have besides Alvin Kamara? For the life of me,
Michael Thomas.
For the life of me, I just don't understand why teams insist on, in pressure situations, not doubling this guy and taking him away.
But Kamara's not really killing him, though. It's Michael Thomas.
No, I'm talking about Michael Thomas. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, well, I mean,
he's that good?
He's
that good?
He's not that good, man. He's not that good. You know, listen, he's that good, but he's not that good, okay? Because it's not like he's beating double coverage. You know, teams, even his coordinators are so stupid that they just insist on leaving him singled up. And you're not going to win that battle. You're not going to win that battle when you're afraid, okay? Now, I would love to see Stephon Gilmore against him. I would love to see, you know, Richard Sherman in his prime against him.
Well, you'll see Richard Sherman in 2 weeks from now. You're going to see Richard Sherman against Michael Thomas.
But that's what I want to see. I want to see a Jalen Ramsey against him. You understand what I'm saying? I want to see a cornerback. I want to see a cornerback who's not afraid to get up in his chest and get with it. You understand what I'm saying? And at the other end of the spectrum, if you know that you don't have that, it's almost criminal for you as a defensive coordinator in a prime situation, knowing that that's Drew Brees' favorite target, knowing that that's the guy he's going to go to, not to play underneath coverage with a guy over top of him every single play. I just don't get it.
Let me ask you right now, because if you look at the NFC standings, San Francisco, Seattle, New Orleans, well, New Orleans is one of the divisions, but San Francisco, Seattle, Green Bay, Minnesota. Not everyone's going to win the division. There's going to be two of those teams that's going to have to play on wild card weekend. You look at those teams, which of them is the most dangerous one to play on a wild card weekend and start their playoff tenure on the road and possibly go to the Super Bowl? Is it the loser of the West? Is it Seattle or San Francisco? One of those teams playing on wild card weekend, going on the road? Is it Minnesota? Is it Minnesota or Green Bay? Aaron Rodgers can go into anybody. I know he played poorly last night, but he's still Aaron Rodgers.
Don't disagree with you.
I don't think. I'm not so sure that Green Bay has enough. I don't like Kirk Cousins on the road. The guy that scares me the most.
It's the guy we saw yesterday. It's Russell Wilson.
Dangerous Wilson.
Yep.
There it is. Him,
and
or
this could be
anywhere.
A playoff matchup. Yesterday could have been a playoff preview.
Listen, they're 6-0 on the road this year.
That's nuts.
Russell Wilson is now 8-1 on the road against the NFC East. How about that?
He owns it. Just call him, he owns the division. He owns it.
Straight up and against the spread. Speaking of spreads, we're coming to you live from Parx Casino Sportsbook. We'll get to our Kings marquees to a victory over the Miami Dolphins, but first, a word from Parx.
The new Parx Casino $10 million sportsbook changes everything. It's a whole new ballgame at Parx Casino. Watch every single game and sporting event you want on our custom-built 154-foot wide, $1.5 million screen, capable of showing 36 events at once. Bet all the hot action and enjoy tap after tap of amazing craft beer, cocktails, and pub food favorites. Your entire game day destination is here for you and your friends. Sportsbook, beer garden, and Liberty Bell Gastropub. Parx Casino, bet with the best.
To the game is to let Big V play. Oh, I'm sorry. Y'all want the Eagles key. Oh, I was giving the Dolphins key because you said if he play, they don't win. Listen, I want Big V to play so we have a chance.
Y'all don't have a key.
Listen, we can compete. Listen, listen. If that spread was double digits, we cover. It's 8.5. We ain't gonna cover. Yeah, we not gonna cover. But no, seriously, listen. The Dolphins have mailed it in. They're playing for golf trips and off season. If the Eagles come out and just do the basics, this is the week where you work on things that you've done wrong. You can clearly see that the Dolphins are good for whatever ails any team in the NFL. I mean, listen, the Browns got back on track last week. The Eagles should next week, and then everybody's going to have this false sense of security. Find ways to make Carson Wentz effective. Find out who's going to be healthy, who's not. Let me ask this question, and I know it didn't come up, but my understanding is Alshon Jeffrey was a healthy scratch. He was able to play and just didn't play. I don't know if there's truth to that or not, but I heard that.
This is a different NFL. You know, in my day, you know, you didn't have guaranteed money and the contracts weren't so expansive. So you almost felt the pressure to play because there was always guys that were there to take your job.
Yeah.
And they didn't care about, there was no cap space, so there was no cap hit, so they didn't worry about cutting you.
Right.
You know, just wherever you got cut, that was the end of your contract. And that money, whatever money was left on the contract, just went back to the team. It was no big deal. You know, these guys now know that they have the NFL by the neck, you know, and they're using it to their advantage. I think that Alshon played Howard, you know, got him to restructure the deal, the guarantee next year, and he don't care right now. I mean, hey, listen, I'm trying to, George Kittle's out there last night with a broken bone in his ankle, straight balling. Why? Because his team needed him and he loves the game, okay?
Respect.
You're gonna tell me that Alshon Jeffrey's cleared by the medical staff, cleared by the head coach last week? And it's not a decision that they're holding him out. I can promise you it's a decision that he probably said, hey, I ain't ready this week. And there's nothing that the team can do. The team can't force him to go out and play. That's the difference between these players today and players in my day. I mean, you get a guy, he got a hangnail, he can't play. Oh, I got a little sore this, I can't play. You know, they just decide that, hey, I'm gonna take the week off and I'm gonna go to the window and I'm gonna collect this $500,000 check. You know, the audacity, you know, but that's where the game is, that's where the league is, and players have NFLPA protection now that allows them to do that, and the teams have no recourse.
Especially now with all the concern about player safety, you don't want to give any reason for the NFLPA to then file charges against the team or anything like that. Well, let's get back to the Kings' keys to a victory over the Dolphins, and I'm going to tell you guys straight up right now, when you have a team like the Dolphins down on the ground, you step on their darn throat and you choke them out. Why? Because they are pesky. They are annoying. Yesterday, Browns were dominating them. But what did Ryan Fitzpatrick do in the second half?
Come back,
21 points in the second half.
Come on.
Ryan Fitzpatrick, he's got no quit in him.
Nope.
All 37, 38 years old, he's got no quit in him. If the Eagles let this Dolphins team hang around, this is going to be an annoying game in the fourth quarter where Eagles fans are wondering, what the heck is going on? We were up 17 points, and now it's a one-possession game? Unacceptable. You have the Dolphins down on the ground, step on their throats, choke them out, and end it. That's the key to the victory.
Before I give my key, I'm going to say this. See, that's the difference in today's NFL and today's sportsmanship and sportsmanship when I played, okay? That grab them by the throat, and I'm not talking about just choke them. I'm talking about choke them till their eyes closed, till you know that they're dead, okay? Then reach in your back pocket and pull your knife out, okay? Hey, listen. Wait a minute. There is a lot of ancient Asian proverbs, okay, that'll tell you the thing you don't do is you never leave a wounded animal.
Right.
Okay? You never leave a wounded animal. You want to know why? Because he'll get well, he'll heal up, and he'll track your ass down.
One job.
Okay? You finish him. You know, in our day, that's why you try to blow the scoreboard up. You know? We trying to take people out. Why? Because we're not going to give you any thought in your crazy mind that you could ever come back and win a game. You don't see that in the NFL. All of a sudden, you get a 20-point, 30-point lead. Now, all of a sudden, we playing soft. Oh, we're going to give you the out. We're going to bend but don't break. No, you don't, because what you're doing is just flipping the entire momentum of the game, offensively and defensively. If you listen. You want us to stop? Stop us. You want to beat us? Beat us. But we're going to come out for 60 minutes and we're going to play our brand of ball. We're going to try to blow the damn scoreboard up, and we're going to try to break your quarterback's leg before the game is over. That's the way the game should be played. That's the way it's meant to be played. Football is nothing but modern-day gladiatorship. It's modern-day gladiatorship. That's why people tune in to watch it. That's why it's the most watched sport. Think about it. You got 70,000, 100,000 seat stadiums. What other sport has that besides soccer?
I was about to say soccer.
Okay, so why do people do it? Because they love the morbidity of it. They love the fact that, you know what, that guy's just knocked his head off over there. The only difference is, like I said, it's modern day gladiatorship. The only difference is the losing team don't get the thumbs down. They get they get to come back next week and do it all over again. And what do? We tune in and we watch it every single week. That's the way football should be played. But we've dumbed it down, we've made it soft, and that's why a guy like Ryan Fitzpatrick can come back and put up 20-something points, you know, in the second half of a game when that game is completely over. Okay? So my King's Mark key to the game. Okay? And I say key this week because last week I had the keys.
And they ain't take none of them keys.
I got one key. Okay? It's for Doug Peterson to figure out what this offense is going to be, to take the pressure off of Carson Wentz and run a balanced style offense. I don't care. It's one key. I see you over there with 3 fingers up. It's one key, okay? Run a balanced offense, okay? And because he said last night, you know, it's not Carson's fault. It's partially Carson's fault. Because what you have to do, and if you don't think it's his fault, then you do a better job of putting him in position to succeed. Because he is not going to succeed with 50 passes and 21 runs. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Okay, you better figure it out. You know, because you got 4 games that you should win, and I'm not saying that you're going to win them because those teams aren't just going to lay down for you.
Nope.
And then you got one game. You're going to have to play your best game in order to get that one, okay? So you better figure it out. You better figure it out fast. You better figure it out while you got, you know, these games, these powder puffs, you know.
You're right.
I resent calling us a powder puff.
Yeah,
he was talking about the Giants.
Oh, okay.
We're
We're like a soft pillow. We're not a powder puff.
No, they're powder puff. They even wear powder blue. That aqua is not aqua, it's powder blue. Powder blue.
And their best might not even be good enough, brother.
That's all right.
Especially
You know what?
When it comes out to that.
I've seen all I need to see. That's all that I got to say. This has been a great show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you continue to share the show. Every share goes to the Help Us Adopt Foundation from all of us here at Hit 'em High. Seth Joyner, Scott Seinberg, myself, Everett Terry. Make sure you guys tune in. Watch us next week right here on the My New Philly Facebook page.
Where something's always new
And
everything's always Philly.
Good job. I definitely left that part out. I drew the mom for it. And then you, that's good.
Teed up.
Wait a minute, it kind of looked like it was scripted.
Yeah.